Boker Tov, we're in Parashat Pinchas and we have here at Pinchas ben Elazar, and as we know, it's a parasha that starts at the maftir of the parasha kodemet. We know that at the beginning of the Torah we have several parashot like this. Parashat Noach is attached to V'Noach Matzah Chen B'nei Hashem at the end of Parashat Bereshit. Parashat Lech Lecha, the next parasha, is based on Parashat Noach. Okay, just a minute. I don't understand what's going on. Okay, sorry. Parashat Lech Lecha is based on Parashat Noach, because at the end of Parashat Noach we have the first Masa, the first travel of Avraham Avinu, with his father Terach, whatever, and then we have Vayomer Hashem el Avraham, and all the Meforshim and the Achronim discuss whether it's the same thing that Vayomer Hashem el Avraham at the beginning of Perek Yud Bet, Bereshit, the beginning of Parashat Lech Lecha, is be'etzem the same thing as he used to do at the end of Parashat Noach, or that, just a minute, we have to cancel it, otherwise it will drive us crazy. Sorry. So, the Parashat Lech Lecha is the continuation of the same event at the end of Parashat Noach, or it's two events. According to the Seder Olam, for instance, Avraham Avinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu ordered him twice to go to Eretz Yisrael, one at the age of 70. He came to Eretz Yisrael, made an immigration, and then came back, made a yerida to Chutz La'aretz, and then he came back at the age of 75. Because that's according to the Seder Olam, and that's a solution to see the two events at the end of Parashat Noach and the event of the beginning of Parashat Lech Lecha. I don't think that we have more parashot like this since Lech Lecha, because some of the parashot are mamash in brackets, like Parashat Vayetze. It starts with Yaakov leaving Haran, to Haran from his father's and mother home, and at the end of the parasha he comes back, and we have mamash this brackets. We have Malachei Elohim olim v'yordim bo. He sees the ladder at the beginning of the parasha. He sees angels accompanying him to Haran at leaving Eretz Yisrael, and he has Malachim in Machanaim when he comes back at the end of Parashat Vayetze. So if you erase Keilu Chas v'Shalom Parashat Vayetze, you have a continuation, because you have the fight between Esav and Yaakov at the end of Parashat Toldot, and the fear of his mother that Esav will murder his brother, and then he comes back, Vayishlach Yaakov Malachim and Esav Achim, mamash continuation. So you have Parashat Vayetze is mamash in brackets. It's a complete parasha that has its own noseh, and then you can learn it for itself as a unit in the Torah without the relation to the former one or the next one. We have some parashot like this, not so many, but coming to Parashat Pinchas, we have again the linkage between Pinchas ben Elazar to the former parasha of Balak. And it's very weird, because at one glance, if I would divide the parashot, I would do Parashat Balak, that Balak cries to curse Am Yisrael, and then he has all the attempts of Bilam, and then at the end of the day, he understands that he cannot curse Am Yisrael. He says, Balak, I have told you I'm not be able to do that. And that's the end of it. Vayelech Balak v'elech Bilam nimkomo, v'gam Balak kalach et darko. So that's the end of the parasha. The maftir or shvi, the whole thing with bnot shittim and the chet, etc., lichora, at one glance, doesn't have any relation with the parasha. It's just the same place. It's just Arvot Moab, but Vayachanu be'arvot Moab al Yarden Yericho, a lot of parashot say that. So why should it be there? So one answer should be that just chronologically, Chet Hashitim comes immediately after Balak and Bilam tries to curse, and it's related. But first of all, it's not clear. I've heard from Rav Meidan. He understands the chutzpah of Shimon to do that. He says that basically Shimon had the nachla of the Shittim. That was the place where he should dwell, because we know that Shimon is a very weird nachala. It's like a kidney. Yehuda wrapped him in the Negev, and Yehuda is just a part of Yehuda's brother. And that's why they go together at the beginning of Sefer Shoftim. Yehuda, Shimon and Yehuda Achiv, they go together to make a war because they are mamash stuck with each other. But that's because of the curse that Yaakov cursed Shimon and Levi and expelled Shimon from his original Nachala, where he should be in the Shittim. And according to Rav Meidan, all the thing with Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, Perek Lamed Bet, at the end of Sefer Bamidbar, next week's parasha, Matot Masei, that they come and say, we want to be in Ever HaYarden, and Moshe is very doubtful and skeptical whether they can do it. Everything precedes the thing of the Bnot Shittim. So according to Rav Meidan, Shimon was an extremist. Shimon was very jealous of Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, because he sees in his eyes that his original Nachala that was given to him, and as we know, it's not just a Nachala, it's a lot of Mir'eh. It's like the Golan Heights, yeah, it's full of sheep food, and it's very green, it's very nice. So, and the Negev apparently is not such a good nachala. Yes, you can make their, you can put their PV, make electricity out of the sun, but you cannot do a lot with agricultural issues. So, and Shimon was very upset, and therefore Shimon understood, or that he has a backflash to the curse of Yaakov, and then he says, okay, you don't want me? Okay, I'm a kid that is expelled from the house. Okay, so I'll do whatever I want. According to Rav Meidan, it's a nice explanation why Shimon dares, why he's Nasi, because we don't have any explanation in the Torah. Why is Nasi does it? Was it just non-religious? Didn't he have any moral? What's going on there? So Hema le'nei kol Israel, Hema bochim, all the descriptions of the Torah are very sharp. So how did he do it? According to Rav Meidan, we have to locate the parasha after the end of Sefer Bamidbar. It's not Noach, because Sefer Bamidbar ends with Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, and we understand that it's mamash the Knisa to Eretz Yisrael, and then the Sefer ends with Vayachanu al Be'arvot Yericho. So we might erase Sefer Dvarim and finish the Torah with Parashat Matot Masei, and it's mamash okay, because Moshe has a curse that he cannot get into Eretz Yisrael. Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven and all the army is done. Everybody knows what he does, and Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven agreed with Moshe to stay in Ever HaYarden after fighting in Eretz Yisrael. So it's mamash lefi haseder. But according to Rav Meidan, we change it, we switch, and we say that the end of the Sefer, Parashat Bnei Gad Bnei Reuven, is here. Because of that, Pinchas, Shimon, and all the tribe is very upset, and that's the trigger to start with all the parasha. So I just want to say that according to Rav Meidan, it's more strange that it's located at the same parasha. Okay, but even without it, even as I said before, say if it depended on me, I would put Parashat Balak and Bilam and finish with the fail of failing to curse, and the admission or acknowledgement of Bilam. I cannot do that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is one, and Bilam comes back to its place. So and then Pinchas would be with the end of Parashat Balak, and then I can understand the parasha starts with the psukim of Chet, and then Pinchas comes and makes takes a place of Moshe and corrects it up. It's more weird because we know that according to halacha, usually we don't end a parasha with bad things. We know that when the Baal Koreh wants to end, let's say that there are a lot of olim la Torah, and you tell him, make me 3 more stops, I want more money, from Aliyot, if you take money for Aliyot, so you tell him stop here, and then he has a lot of places he cannot stop. He cannot do it 3 psukim before parasha sgura or ptucha, he cannot do it less than 3 psukim after a parasha ptucha or sgura, and he cannot end in davar ra. We don't end with something bad. Usually we finish with something good. We're nearing Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, and in 3 weeks, Chas v'Shalom, we'll have Tisha B'Av, and we'll read Megillat Eicha, and Megillat Eicha ends with Katzafta Aleinu Ad Meod, or with something very bad that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very angry at us. And although we finish with a good pasuk, Hashiveinu Hashem Elecha V'Nashuva Chadesh Emenu Kikedem. The same thing we do with Shir HaShirim. Shir HaShirim, we have a very weird end. There it's not so bad, because what does it mean? Brach Dodi Udmelecha Litzvi Al Bater. It has a bad meaning, actually, because all the Shir HaShirim is based on the trial, on the attempt to make a mifgash between the dod and the raya, between the uncle and his niece, but at the end of it doesn't succeed, because when he comes, she leaves, and when she comes, he doesn't open the door, and they're trying to make an appointment with each other, to find the way to meet each other. And then the end of the Sefer is very tragic, because it ends with Brach Dodi, that she understands that there is a power, that there is a gap between him and her. He is a king from the city, and she is a shepherd from the Negev, from Arei Hebron, and like Eliza Doolittle, and she is not at the same stage as him, and it's mamash like we call a suburb story, that he is a king, he's somebody professional and well known and very famous and chacham and so on, and she is a very simple, a very plain girl, a shepherd, and they have a love, but the love cannot exist because his friends, the Shomrim, tell him, what are you doing with this girl? She's not for you. And for her, she wants to be, but she understands that she doesn't like to dress all the time, like being a queen. So the same problem has Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu with their mifgash. And Sefer Shir HaShirim is very tragic at the end, because it has a very tragic end, that we say Brach Dodi, we tell the uncle, we tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we usually understand, you shouldn't meet us, because it doesn't go, okay? So how shall we function with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We don't know. The end of the Sefer makes a big question, because and we read it in the spring, in Yetziat Mitzrayim, the beginning, the Rusin, whatever, engagement between Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the end is very, very tragic. So there we finish with it, because most people don't feel the pasuk to be so extreme. Most people just understand that it's Brach Dodi. They don't understand the really meaning of the pasuk, and therefore we can end like this without a softening pasuk. But in Eicha and in many other books, we have a softening, and we finish with another pasuk. So at the end of Parashat Balak, let's go for a second to there. We have a very, we have here Balak, and the last psukim, ויבוא אחר איש ישראל אל הקובה, וידקור את שניהם, את איש ישראל ואת האישה על קובתה, ותעצר המגפה מעל בני ישראל. Even with this I can understand that maybe finishing with this pasuk it's okay, because it says that there were a lot of dead people, but not more than that. But no, ויהיו המתים במגפה 24,000. The worst pasuk, we stop with it, and it's a question, how can we do it halachically to finish with such a bad thing? And again, why should we do it if the next continuation, the next pasuk is the same issue, Pinchas ben Nazar? So I think in order to answer that first of all, the answer is what I said on Shabbat, that a Torah makes כאילו a battle, כאילו a fight, a דו-קרב, a דואק, between Moshe Rabbeinu and Bilam. And therefore all the midrashim say לא קם בישראל כמשה עוד, but Bilam in אומות העולם was. Bilam is a big novi, and if he is a big novi, actually you asked me, Mr. Posner, on Shabbat, the Ramban, I looked afterwards on the Ramban explicitly says that he asks what's the maila of maalat of Bilam on Sh'ar Nevi'im, on Moshe Rabbeinu on Sh'ar Nevi'im, what's the advantage that he has. And it's very weird because Ramban quotes the same Sifri at the end of Parashat Vezot HaBracha, on ממש, the last psukim of the Torah, ולא קם בישראל כמשה עוד, אבל באומות העולם קם, ומה נינו? Bilam. And the Midrash itself asks what's the differences between Bilam and Moshe, and the Midrash itself answers that Bilam is less than Moshe, according to Ramban explanation. So the Midrash on the one hand says that Bilam is better than Moshe, and we don't have a fight with him because he is Umot HaOlam, but in Am Yisrael Moshe is the best. But then the Midrash says that Bilam is less than Moshe. The Midrash says that Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't know exactly. HaKadosh Baruch Hu talked with him all the time, but he didn't know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu would tell him about. HaKadosh Baruch Hu would call him and say, "Hi Moshe, I want to talk to you about not cheating, or now about reforma mishpatit, or now," and he has to be awakened and to understand what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants out of him. Let's say that you're a manager and somebody calls you and you have to run all the place. It's very difficult. So that was a chisoron of Moshe, while Bilam knew exactly before talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he would mechaven and set a certain time in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu would talk to him about a specific topic. So that was כאילו the maila of Pinchas, but Ramban explains that it is the a disadvantage of Bilam, not Pinchas, of Bilam according to Moshe, because Bilam just knows, but it has a very narrow kesher with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just focuses on what he wants to do, while Moshe can talk with HaKadosh Baruch Hu like everybody. And the Midrash says that Moshe Rabbeinu is like a sab, he's like a minister. He doesn't deal with the nonsense, while Bilam is like the tabach, he's like the cook. And the cook sometimes knows that the prime minister wants to drink his coffee like this and not like this. He knows more than the minister, but the minister doesn't care how the prime minister drinks his coffee. He deals with the real issues. So it's just an answer to you on Shabbat, but it's very funny because Ramban and the Midrash try to negate what the Midrash basically says. The Midrash basically starts with saying that Bilam is more than Moshe Rabbeinu even. And then the Midrash says that Bilam is less than the Nevi'im even, because he takes all his advantages and puts him like chesronos. So that's in brackets an answer to you. So we have to discuss it at length. Just wanted to show that Ramban and Midrash discuss it. But let's go back. If we see that Parashat Balak is just a ma'avak between Moshe Rabbeinu and Balak and Bilam, Bilam, but basically Bilam, and we see that throughout all the 6 aliyot that Torah deals with Bilam, we don't see Moshe. He sees Ktsei Ha'am, he sees the Am Yisrael from here, from there, he makes preparations, but we don't hear about Moshe. At the 7th aliyah, we find the Maftir, we find Moshe Rabbeinu with all the Shittim, and then we don't see Balak at all. And the Torah, Bedavka, wants to locate the parasha of the Shittim at the end of Parashat Balak, even though that according to Rav Meidan, it's mamash lo kashur and it's not there, it's not its base, and even though it was much better to connect it with Parashat Pinchas, the Torah wants to finish Parashat Balak with a bad end, saying that at the end of the day, as I said on Shabbat, Bilam laughed. Bilam won. And he started with cursing, with a lot of things that he tried to do, but as I saw in Rabbi Melubavitch, the only one who can damage Am Yisrael is not the cursing of an outsider, is themselves with their sins in the Not Shittim. As the Torah saying, not in that place, but in Matot Masei, the one who gave the Eitzah to be Machti Am Yisrael and to make them sin was Bilam. So at the end of a parasha, it's really related to Parashat Balak, because he tried most of the parasha, 6/7 out of the parasha, he tries with his mouth, with his curses, he couldn't succeed, and therefore he failed and went to the shafel, to the lower parts of him, and tried with physical sinning. And he succeeded very well. And the Torah doesn't want to say explicitly that he won. That's why the Torah hid his share in giving the Eitzah. But the Torah really wants you to end the Parashat Balak with a bad taste. The Torah doesn't want you to end with good taste, as we always do. The Torah wants to understand that it's a part of Balak. And that's why we have Pinchas here, just not as a part of the former parasha, but discussing him as itself. And again, we have two Pinchas. We have the Pinchas at the end of Parashat Balak, just, the right person, like yesterday with the person who shot the terrorist. So he is the right person in the place, and Pinchas was the right person. Lo chashuv, whoever he was. And it doesn't interest us whether he was given a reward. That's the end of Parashat Balak. Just to finish the parasha, why did the Magefa stop? Because there was one person, the right person in time to finish it. Okay. Now the Torah starts again. Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, and again we know exactly Vayikach Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. 3 psukim afterwards, the Torah writes as if we don't know who he is. So Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, it's a new beginning. השיב את חמתי ולא חיליתי את בני ישראל, לכן הנני נותן לו את בריתי שלום. And in the minutes that we have, let's discuss what it means, הנני נותן לו את בריתי שלום. Because if somebody is kanoi, is an extremist, you would expect that either HaKadosh Baruch Hu would say, we don't like extremists, I don't want him. That's what happened usually. And look at the of the Haftorah of the parasha. Now we won't have it because of Shloshet Shavuot. But if we had a normal parasha of Pinchas, we would read about Eliyahu Be'ar HaKarmel, and Eliyahu is a very kanai. He says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't want to hear from Am Yisrael, את מזבחותיך הרסו ואת עמך דקרו בחרב. So Pinchas is very angry at HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, relax, you cannot be the Navi anymore. לך תמשוך את אלישע לנביא תחתיך. And the Midrash understands that it was a punishment. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, you cannot deal with Am Yisrael, you're too jealous, too angry, too honest. You cannot be soft with Am Yisrael. So find Elisha instead of you. So we see there, and according to Chazal in some Midrashim, Pinchas is Eliyahu. Chazal identifies the figure of Pinchas with Eliyahu. They are both Kohanim, okay, according to Chazal. why there Akadosh Baruch Hu doesn't like the extremist, and here he likes it and gives him a bracha. But why does he give him a bracha of shalom? If Akadosh Baruch Hu, on the other hand, wants him and understands that an extremist is a good solution for some events in life, so Akadosh Baruch Hu can say, okay, excellent, he'll be the משמרת הצניעות, he'll burn the shops or whenever it's needed. Okay, he'll make the problems. As Rabbi Milubavitch said once, that we need the people, the Michiganers in Mea Shearim fighting against the Shabbat, because we don't want to do like this, because we're mekarvim and make shalom, but we need some people to do it instead of us. So, okay, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, Pinchas is an extremist, very nice, I'll use him when I need. And even though Kadosh Baruch Hu gives him the contrary, Kadosh Baruch Hu gives him et briti shalom. So I want to give you three explanations, short explanations for that. The first one is it's a Natziv that says that once you use the virtues, midah of kanaut, you become a kanoi. It doesn't, you cannot just use it as like a sword in your hand without assimilating and trying to be a man like this. So if you are Amram Bloy and if you are one of the Mea Sheorim people, you don't just throw stones at the policeman. You are abnormal. So therefore he has to be blessed with shalom. And we find this in many places. Akadosh Baruch Hu says that once you come to Eretz Israel, you have to kill all Shivat Amamim. Okay, you have to, because they are considered like of the Avodah Zarah and other God worshippers, and they can endanger you, they can be machti you, and therefore you have to throw them completely. And it's achzariyut, it's a lot of cruelty, because I don't want to kill people. I don't want to kill people just because they are from a foreign nation. Now in the 21st century, we must understand how it's not nogea eleinu. We don't want, in ancient times, in the medievals, that everybody made a war with the same in order to conquer something, so it was maybe legitimate. But now that everybody is interested in peace, why should we want to kill? So according to Ramban, the Torah wants to tell us that v'natan lecha rachamim v'richamecha. I'm not sure it's Ramban, maybe it's Or HaChaim, I don't remember. But one of them says that after being a soldier and after having to kill because of the milchama, so Akadosh Baruch Hu promises you that you won't be, you won't like to kill, you won't like to be a soldier, you won't use it in daily life. V'natan lecha rachamim v'richamecha. Akadosh Baruch Hu would give you a softening virtue. You'd be much moderate person, and you won't want to kill others. That's the same thing with Pinchas. So according to Natziv, Akadosh Baruch Hu blesses him, tell him very nice, but since you are an extremist, I don't want extremist, so I bless you not to be an extremist. Okay, so according to Natziv, the Briti Shalom saying is mamash to say that on the one hand, bless you and you're very good, you get a medal of extremist, but on the other hand, I should bless you not to be an extremist anymore, any longer in life. And actually, if we find the figure of Pinchas, it's a very interesting figure. We find him throughout all Sefer Shoftim, and in several places it's just the Midrashim that said that Pinchas was a leader. But in some places, like in Iftach, it's mamash next to Iftach, it's written in the middle of Sefer Shoftim, Pinchas himself. And according to Chazal, he lived like 300 years. What does it mean? I don't know. But Chazal said, maybe it's his figure, maybe it's Neshama, maybe it's Gilgul, maybe it's him himself. I don't know what to say. But Chazal understood that he lived a peaceful life, but he was in a certain way an extremist. Chazal said You remember that a few weeks ago we had the Haftorah of Bat Yiftach on Chukat, and Chazal said that the problem, Yiftach was light, הוא היה קל עולם, he didn't have the brain to go to Pinchas to be matir the neder, because he just made a mistake with his neder. He could easily go to a Chacham and cancel the neder, but he didn't want to do it. And Pinchas was blamed, was guilty, according to Chazal as well, that he was extremist. He said, no, he would come to me, I won't come to him. Who is he? So he said, I'm not going to him. And because of both of them, it happened to the girl what happened according to the daughter of Yiftach. So that's one explanation. The second explanation is very short, is based on Ibn Ezra, and says that Hinenim noten lo et briti shalom. It's just, in the ancient time, or in the Arab society, we have nikmat dam. We have that if you murder me, I would murder your relatives, and then you will murder my relatives. And it goes, we have all the problems in Lod, in the Galilee, we have a lot of problems of nikmat dam. And the same thing happens here, that because of Pinchas, he killed Shevet Shimon, and it might be that the families of the leader would want to kill Pinchas, because they would make nikmat dam. You have to remember that it wasn't clear. Pinchas halacha ve'en morim ken. He didn't do what Moshe said. Moshe was silent. He didn't know what to do, and Pinchas got up and did something. So it's very nice to us. It's very nice to Kadosh Baruch Hu, but it might be that Chas v'Shalom they would take revenge out of him, and that's why he is in Hinenim noten lo et briti shalom. According to Ibn Ezra, it's just a defense against his enemies. So that's Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't get into whether it's good, whether it's not good. But just to finish, I want to give you a third explanation, not the Natziv, that it was a softening, not the Ibn Ezra, it was just a defense. And I once gave a series of shiurim that the maskana of it was that just an extremist person can make shalom. I brought there a stira, keilu stira, between the Rambam. The Rambam talks about the derech ha'emtza, the middle way, that you shouldn't be stingy, you shouldn't be throw your money, you have to be in the middle. Just, you shouldn't be koes, you shouldn't be just aloof, just be in the middle. And we brought a lot of mekorot from the Kotzker Rebbe, from other people, that from Pinchas, from Eliyahu, we brought midrashim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very, very happy with being an extremist. And we ask whether it's just few people out of the Chevra, but most of the people should be in the middle way. And then we wanted to say that everybody admits that at the end of the way, you should be in the middle. But if you are extreme in what you believe, then you can be in the middle. I'll tell you just in politics, let's say, if you are very, very strong in liking Eretz Israel, and you really believe in that it's our zchut, and all the Arabs that wants to take it, they don't have any zchut, etc. And then, but you are on the one hand extremist and like your country, you're a patriot, but on the other hand, you understand that there are people, they think that, let's say, all the settlements is a big mistake. And some of them understand that just you withdraw from settling down in the Shtachim, that will be all the solution and peaceful with everybody. And you really believe that they, from their perspective, believe in what they say. So you are an extremist in what you say, and you're very rightist, let's call, and they're very leftist, but they believe in what they say. They're extremists to one side, and you're extremist to one side. You can get along with these people, and you can make shalom between you and them. Let's say that you really support the reform, judicial reform, and let's say that you really offend the reform, but you really believe that you have these fears because of which you want the reform, and you have these fears because of which you mitnaged to the reform. You can sit down and make easily a shalom. Also, problem is caused because sometimes people just speak, they talk against or pro, but they don't know exactly what they want, or that they don't believe in the intentions of the other side. So according to the Maskana, if you are a real extremist in your side and you really believe in your side, but you have another midah that you can understand the otherwise shita and don't think that you understand better than him what he believes, you really give him legitimacy to believe in what he does, then you make a shalom. And therefore, Pinchas was very extremist in what he did, but he could listen to the otherwise shita. The problem with the shittim that there was no shita. But let's say that you have heretic people and they really made the chet because they believe that there is no God. There you can make a shalom. Here, just because hema bochim, just because of the mess doesn't mean anything. To be black on white, it's okay, but to be gray, it doesn't mean anything. So Pinchas is black, and the other ones are white, so he can make a shalom. That's a bracha that he can make a shalom. Just people who believe in what their attitude is and believe in others' attitude, they can make